everybody, and welcome to Strudel Talk. I hope you guys enjoyed my last episode about Vienna Woods Killer. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Mara, and check out my previous episodes on my Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. To my listeners, I have a few questions. Do you guys believe in ghosts and paranormal activities, such as, this exorcism or this demon shit or some kind of ghost haunting you? Or whenever you move into a new apartment, you feel like there's someone watching you from the corner? I believe some of the people believe in this kind of thing, that something exists that we cannot see, but we can feel it. But others most likely to, argue back that if you cannot see it, how can you believe it, right? Okay, before I start this episode, I want to tell you that I'm not schizophrenic or something, just so you know. So that whenever I'm explaining the situation I was in, that I was not hallucinating nor on drug or something like this. So with this, let's begin our episode. If you guys still remember, I used to live in this dorm in Vienna, right? When I was doing my master's. So the time frame was from 2016 September to 2020 June. And that dorm was particularly quite weird, I would say. Also quite creepy in my opinion. And one of the evenings, I decided to smoke cigarette with my friend outside in the yard. So the yard has big ass wooden tables surrounded by like 4 benches, so you can come outside anytime and smoke and drink whatever you want to do. And anyhow, so it was evening. Me and my friend went downstairs. We decided to sit on that bench. It was just 2 of us. She sat towards looking at me, also to the building, and I was facing to the wall and at the same time looking at her. So for my case, I won't be able to see who is turning on the light or not, because I was not seeing the windows of the building, right? And I know her, she's not a delusional person, she wouldn't lie at all. The thing is, we would turn off our lights whenever we leave our room, right? And yeah, we were sitting and chatting and just talking to each other, what happened, blah blah blah. And then her expression got changed. She was looking up and her face was as if she's seen something that I would say make her feel happy for sure, but more like shocked, or I would even say scared. Since I saw her facial expression got changed, I asked her hey Jen, is everything okay? And then she looks at me, says, Mara, someone is in my room. And I was like, no way, you're bullshitting. And then she says, no, for real, someone just turned on the light of my room. And then I kind of had this disbelief and I thought, nah, cannot be true, nobody can enter your room. So I asked her, did you lock your room? And she said, yes, I lock my room every time I leave my room. And again, I asked her, okay, did you turn off the light? Do you really remember you were turning it off? And she confirmed that yes, she did turn off all the lights she has in her room. And most of the times, actually, her table lamp would be on, because she really likes dim lights. And she said, look, it looks like the light is coming from my table light. In that time, our table light had this turning knob, so when you want to turn on your lamp, it was not just a click, but you have to really manually turn the knob. And I turned around and I saw her room was on, and she wanted to go upstairs and check if someone is in there. Of course, I didn't want her to go alone, and I told her, okay, let's go together and check if someone is in your room. We arrived on the 3rd floor of our dorm, and then we opened the door, and by the way, the door was locked. And we entered her room and we saw that table lamp was on. And we thought, okay, this is so suspicious and creepy at the same time, because the door was locked. And second of all, you have to really manually turn on that table lamp. And third of all, I really do believe that she turned off the light. So until this day, we still don't know how that happened. If you guys have any suggestions or idea what happened, please leave a comment. I would like to know your thoughts and guesses what it could be. Another incident that was happened actually to me. I used to be in a single room, but it's like an apartment, let's say, that divided by 2 rooms, and then we would share our toilet and shower. So my flatmate back then, she was from Linz, so one of the cities from Austria. And on the weekends or public holidays, she would go back home. And sometimes she would tell me that when she will be leaving and when she is coming back, but sometimes I would not know. I think, which is okay, we were just flatmates, we were not like really friends, I would say. And one of the times I knew she was not there because I remember she was saying she's gone, and you know your flatmate is gone because we were also sharing the fridge and stuff, so I wouldn't see anything in the fridge from her side. But yeah, anyway, so she was gone. And weekend arrived and it was on Sunday, and yeah, in the evening I was in my room getting ready for the next day because I was doing my master internship, and I was preparing myself to fall asleep, and I hear keychain and bunch of keys, and I was like, oh wow, my flatmate is back, okay, great. And I fell asleep, and next day I woke up, I don't see anything. I mean, like, I didn't see her stuff. I thought, okay, maybe she came back, but again she left, and I was like, okay, whatever. And then I went to work and I came back, and still I didn't see her the whole day. And then next day she appears, and I asked her, hey, when did you come back to Vienna? And she says, just now. So guys, this was so creepy to me. So our bed is like, when you enter the room, it's just next to the door. That means I can hear her keys or keychain very well. And I am 100% sure I heard keys and keychain. I was still trying to figure out what happened. I thought maybe someone else mistakenly entered our door and tried to open her door or something. But then again, I didn't hear our main door was opening. So it cannot be possible that someone enters the main room of our flat and tries to open her door, because you would hear that door is opening and closing, right? And I didn't hear that. So how am I hearing these keys? If you have a cool explanations, please leave a comment. So continue with the topic. One day a friend of mine shared such a weird story. She used to also live in that dorm, but on the 5th floor, and you can again imagine the room layout is very similar to mine. So according to her, everything happened in the middle of the night. Let's call my friend Livy. Livy usually slept so deep that any kind of noise could not wake her up, but that night everything was so different. She woke up scared, thinking that something is wrong. She heard these 3 loud knocks coming from everywhere. She couldn't tell exactly where it is coming from, but she knew it came from all over the place. It was just not only Livy heard these 3 knocks, but also her flatmate. Both of them apparently came out of the same time from their rooms and started to ask each other if they heard the same 3 knocks. Obviously they figured out it was none of them knocked their walls, and my friend Livy decided to figure out if it was her neighbor, and unfortunately it was also not her. The one thing made me feel so weirded out was why 3 knocks. And then months later, some people heard these 3 knocks again. They described again very similar thing what happened to Livy, that these 3 knocks were coming from everywhere. They couldn't identify if it was coming from the wall, window or a door. And it is so weird that it all happened during the night. And again, the same people told me that they heard the second time. It was again middle of the night, and the same thing. They did not know where these 3 knocks were coming from. And here, actually, I may have one explanation or 2. Okay, so do you guys know something about these 3 knocks? If not, hear me out. Across European traditions, including Austrian, Bavarian, and Bohemian ones, the sound of 3 distinct knocks, especially at night or on doors, windows, or walls, is often taken as a death omen, a spirit spirits announcement, and paranormal mimicry. To explain the death omen, in many Catholic folk traditions, hearing 3 knocks with no visible source was believed to foretell a death in the household or neighborhood. Each knock symbolized one member of the Trinity: Father, Son, Holy Spirit. If you hear these 3 knocks, you shouldn't answer to it. In the case of a spirit's announcement, spirits of the dead were said to knock 3 times to signal their presence, especially if their grave was disturbed or if their burial site was desecrated. The number 3 represented completion or finality, the spirit's 3 warnings before manifestation. The last thing is paranormal mimicry. In more modern paranormal lore, unexplained triple knocks on dorm walls or pipes are attributed to restless energy, which is actually common in old or emotionally charged buildings like student dorms or hospitals near cemeteries. So hear me out, guys, it will get creepier because the dorm I stayed back then is actually next to a cemetery, and the cemetery is like, okay, maybe within 500 meters, and I was searching for the cemetery like information, and I found several things. The name of the cemetery is Friedhof Meidling, and if you want to Google it, please go ahead. It is very big cemetery. The opening date of the cemetery was officially on 6th of August 1862. Apparently, the cemetery had actually a different date when it was opened back then. The first cemetery at Vierthallegasse 11, it was closed in 1806 because the site was deemed unsuitable due to constant water accumulation, which made burial difficult. Then second cemetery site around 1807 was established with local land donated by Johann Putz. The place was actually dry and very nice location, but that too became inadequate as population demands increased. Anyway, this cemetery makes it one of the older still used cemeteries in Vienna, created to serve the growing suburban communities in the 19th century. Unfortunately, there are repeated reports of vandalism, destruction, and neglect at the Meidling Cemetery, and approximately 150 graves were reported to have been vandalized. There is even a recent news that is dated from 12th of September 2024, and the news was that on a construction site in Zechtergasse, Meidling, human remains were found. The bones lay at about 1.8 meters depth beside a pipe being renovated. And this is not the only time they found bones beneath the street level. In 1998, archaeologists also found bones. This strongly supports the general claim of burials beneath the street in that area. And I was googling actually where is this Zechtergasse as well as this Vierthallegasse, because these two were before the cemetery of Meidling, and we can call them as a lost place because they were not used as cemetery anymore. And then I checked the dorm that I stayed is actually very close to both streets. This actually made me think of something. What if there's a burial beneath that building? Do you think these 3 knocks are coming from the people who were buried beneath the building? Or is it coming from the cemetery? I'm gonna leave you with this open-end question. In 2020 June, me and my friend, we both moved out from that dorm and we found a very nice apartment. So it was one of the evenings I came home. I realized my flatmate was not in the living room, and then I decided to just go to straight my room. And when I was passing by the living room, I heard some woman. She was speaking in different language. It was obviously not German. I couldn't really understand what she was saying, but I heard something. And then, guys, I couldn't believe. So first thing it came to my mind was just like, okay, let me go to my room. And then I was just questioning myself, did I hear this correct? Did I really? And then again, I went out from my room to check if the windows were open in the living room. Unfortunately, they were closed, because then I thought maybe I heard something from the streets and I wanted to check check if that was the case, but no. The next thing what I did was checking on my flatmate. I thought maybe she said something from her room that it sounded like, if she was saying something to me. Because she's not Austrian nor German, the thing I heard from that woman was neither German nor English. But then my flatmate said she didn't say anything. But here it's again the same thing. I cannot prove it because I didn't see it. And even though before this happened, I always felt someone was watching me from the corridor. Anyway, as a Mongolian, we are such a spiritual and superstitious people. So I decided to cleanse that house like a shit. So cleansing in a way that, we bury something. So in this case, I buried sometimes. And I don't know, I think in Catholic or something, they burn sage, or maybe not only in Catholic. So I know people burn sage to cleanse the vibe or energy, something like this. And then somehow after this, I started to get sleep paralysis, guys. For sure, most of you had sleep paralysis or know what it is. So I don't need to explain to you. Okay, then let's move on to the next topic. I had several sleep paralysis moments in my previous apartment and I think once in my new apartment. Okay, I'm trying to remember the ones from my old apartment, and one of the evenings it was horrible. So yeah, as I said, I was sleeping and then I woke up and I couldn't move. And then I was trying to, look around and I don't see anything besides it's super dark. And then when I was looking around in the corner of my eye, someone runs. Thankfully it didn't run towards me, it just zoomed and I couldn't even see what it was. I think the moment that you cannot do anything yet you're just awake is the scariest. And the second time, to be honest, I don't remember it anymore. I think I'm trying to forget. But of course later I again had sleep paralysis and this was, I think, one of the scariest. So what I remember is that when I opened my eyes, something fell on my chest. Jesus Christ, that was horrible. Each time this fucker was getting closer and closer, and this time it managed. And I don't know what it's gonna do next time. I hope nothing crazy, because lately I'm quite stressed and my sleep is a bit weird. So maybe in some time I will get one again. And one of the recent one was that happened in my new apartment. The thing I remember is so weird. I also think partially it is like a dream. So the middle of the night I woke up to the sound of knock. But it was not 3 knocks, it was just 2 big bangs. And then as soon as I woke up, I realized actually I'm still in a dream, and then I woke up. It was so weird because I was waking up in the dream and then waking up to see if that really happened, these bangs, and I realized actually no, it's not. So this can be as a dream or also sleep paralysis. Maybe the sleep paralysis is now knocking on my door. I don't know. So guys, quite creepy things happened and hopefully it stops. If not, you will hear it from another episode. And with this, I'm almost coming to end of my episode. You know that I was giving you guys weekly song suggestion, but for this episode I'm gonna give you something else. Since we talked about creepy stuff, I wanted to give you a movie recommendation. Of course you can guess, it's all about weird shit, creepy stuff, scary ghosts and whatnot. I really love watching horror movies, so I can't really tell you what kind of movies made me shit myself. Okay, I will start like a classical one. This is the one from Japan, The Grudge. Man, that ghost scared the shit out of me. Not the boy, but the mom. Okay, one of the recent and something very demonic is Bring Her Back. And for me, one of the older times that I can watch is, of course, Conjuring. And recently also I watched one of this gory or very bloody movie. I would say The Ugly Stepsister. And if you want to feel creeped out and scared on Halloween, or you want to just give a try, please watch those mentioned movies. With this, I hope you enjoyed my episode. My podcast is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. If you're new here, please check out my previous episodes. Until then, bye!